What do you think explains this kind of point of view from law enforcement emboldens them to take these illegal measures, it seems to me, particularly in the face of this social upheaval?
Yeah, well, it's a great point. There is a kind of bipolar juxtaposition, if you will, not opposition, but juxtaposition between, on the one hand, what we see going on in these streets today in terms of protests and the way in which the reinforcement of structural inequality, structural racism in American society. The police department and law enforcement more broadly has been part and parcel, a woof and warp of a culture that has been intolerant of difference. Why is it that the police chief in Minneapolis acted the way he did? Because he filed a suit some years ago claiming that the local police department was engaging in racist behavior. He then it led him to, that sensitivity, to firing these police as soon as they murdered Mr. Floyd, and also to insist that they be held accountable. We need more police departments like that, where we don't reinforce a deeply entrenched racial animus and bias against African American people and the anti-blackness that is woven into the very fabric of the culture. Hoisting a flag, a blue all lives matter, or in this case, blue lives matter, is akin to symbolically rearing the Confederate flag against the larger nation in deference to one's own sectional loyalties. So I think the convergence of both the Confederacy and cops at that level, knowing that white supremacists have penetrated to a deep degree law enforcement in America, suggests to us that the problem can't be the law and the rest of us. Who's going to protect and serve us, as KRS One said, from the cops themselves? And this is why we need oversight. This is why we need community policing. This is why we need police to live in the communities that they are policing, so that they will see that's my aunt, that's my uncle, that's somebody I know, that's my homeboy,
Which
not
Kaepernick
somebody who
knelt
is an animal.
for.
Absolutely. No question. Well, it's hard to argue with you or Ms. Jenkins this morning. There's no question that in terms of, as Ms. Jenkins said, choosing a knee, we have to talk about the knee that Colin Kaepernick did place on that gridiron to suggest that there was a problem. And even if one would disagree about method and manner, the ultimate message is real, it's powerful, it's poignant, it's compelling, and we've got to grapple with it somehow.
Well, Dr. Dyson, I certainly can argue with a couple of points Max made, but that's for me and Max to deal with on another day, which we will. Make no mistake about it. We got a long week ahead of us. As it pertains to Colin Kaepernick, the only thing that I will say, because I totally agree with Sally Jenkins, the only thing that I would add is I really wish a distinction was made between the NFL owners and the NFL. Because the NFL, led by Roger Goodell, with an executive VP who is a black man, and Troy Vincent, who does a lot progressively, the things that they have tried to do and the work that they have put in shows that their intent is distinguishably different from what you get from a multitude of NFL owners. And I think we owe it in fairness to the NFL to make sure we highlight that. But staying with your point, Dr. Dyson, I would like to ask you, moving forward, you talk about community involvement. What do you think of the idea of having some kind of, I use this word, I understand the times that we're living in, it's a dicey word, but an overseer in terms of a national police commissioner? I don't know how plausible that is, but in light of the fact that we have one presidential candidate that is infamously known for his position during the crime bill in 1993 when he was pushing for that, and he called folks predators on the streets, to a president in the office that just brought up dogs, as in vicious dogs waiting for the protester. I think that when we look at things from a federal perspective, there's a lot of reticence, there's a lot of hesitancy when it comes to things that need to be addressed. So I'm on a federal level. So I'm asking you, is there something, some kind of remedy involving a police commissioner or somebody or a board that's over everything before it can get to the attorney general, where the police behavior can be dealt with before even arrests are made, somebody to monitor what the police are doing? What do you think about all of that?
That's very powerful and compelling. And let me say, first of all, Mr. Vincent and, Malcolm Jenkins, who you saw there, one a football player, one a VP, have done extraordinary work in trying to address many of these issues. So there's no question about that. And I think the distinction you make there is more than technical, that the way in which a bunch of billionaire white guys whose own ethos is antithetical to the encouragement of difference, and those like Mr. Vincent, a black man who played the game himself, and Malcolm Jenkins, who's on that gridiron as well, talking explicitly and openly about racial inequality. Yes, there's no question when it comes to a policeman of the police, a police czar, I think we could call it, Stephen A. When we talk about
Yes.
somebody who could talk about how this is going on, because we know that under the Obama administration, the AG, Eric Holder, one of the great attorneys general we've ever had covenants with police departments, examined them routinely. Look at what happened in Ferguson, talking about what the corrupt culture of policing was there. Or joined with an organization like Noble, National Organization of Blacks in Law Enforcement, headed right now by Chief C.J. Davis from the Durham Police Department, a tremendously brilliant black woman. And those police people who are black, by and large, understand racial animus. They are victims of it themselves. They have been victimized by white supremacy within their own ranks and are deeply and profoundly sensitive to this. So yes, we need a policing of the police. We need a police czar. We need the ability to leverage penalty, fine, and sanction against police departments that refuse to be trained, not like in Minnesota where they overrode what the chief did by saying we will have warrior-like stances and we will pay the $55,000 in warrior training. This is what ends up happening. It converges police logic, legal logic, and the logic of white supremacy to really squelch the breath from black people and to have the greatest pandemic besides COVID-19 that we've had.